Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV, and we're gonna try and go live. We're expecting a few technical difficulties, so just hang in there. We appreciate you coming by and just kind of stick through with it with us. But if you feel like you want to chime in and go ahead and chat, just feel free to do so, and we can start up a conversation there. But one thing, over the weekend, there was quite a few interesting tidbits of news where we saw where the Romanian parliament, they want to bring back their gold to Romania from, guess who? Bank of England. And I think that's going to be pretty interesting to watch, considering we just had Venezuela trying to get back their gold from Bank of England, and it's not going too well. So we'll see what happens with Romania. And then we also saw India, who is increasing their gold reserves. So they're continuing to buy, and along with Russia, who I think we can fairly say is continuing to dump their dollars and buying gold. And what I mean by dumping dollars is all of those reserves that they're holding, while it still has value, while the dollar still has value, they're going to go ahead and buy things that have probably even more value. So Russia, they know what they're doing. And we also had a top 10 list come out from the Business Insider over in Singapore regarding the top 10 countries with gold reserves. And number 10 was India, which is interesting because, like I said, they were just in the news with the amount of gold that they've been buying. And they're currently at 608.7 tons, and 6.4% of their foreign reserves are in gold. And then at number 9, we have the Netherlands. They're looking to hold more gold in their reserves. They're at 65.9%, which is fairly high. And number 8, we have Japan. They're holding 765.2 tons, but it's just 2.5% of their foreign reserves that's actually in gold. Japan's share of global foreign exchange reserves rose to a 15-year high last year, so we're going to see how this is going to play out. Number 7, we have Switzerland. Their official gold holdings is 1,040 tons, which is 5.5% of their foreign reserves. At a population of about 8.4 million, Switzerland is said to hold the largest amount of gold reserves per capita. So, and that's something to consider. If things really go bad, might be a better situation if governments are holding gold to hopefully try and help their people. So Switzerland is holding quite a bit of gold. And then we have China. Hey, hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV, and we're going live today from Singapore. So we'd like to thank people who are joining us. This is our first attempt at a scheduled live stream, so bear with us. I can promise you there will be technical difficulties along the way, so just stick with us and we'll get through it. But again, if this is your first time joining us, we appreciate if you do subscribe and click that bell button to be notified for new content. And if it all goes well, hopefully we can earn a thumbs up from you folks out there. So let's give this a go, and we'll see what happens from it. But anyway, sorry about that. There were quite a few interesting things that happened towards the end of the week and into the weekend. And what we saw, I think one of the more interesting pieces of news came from Reuters, where we're seeing Romania. They're asking, or their parliament is voting to bring their gold reserves back from the Bank of England. And I find this one interesting because we just saw that Venezuela tried to get their gold back. It didn't go well. I think it's not going to go well. So with Romania, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this unfolds, if they are going to get their gold back or not. So what do you guys think? You think they're going to get their gold back, or it's just not coming home anymore? And we saw India. They're continuing to buy gold and a lot of gold along with Russia. But the interesting thing with Russia is they're, in a sense, dumping dollars in that they are using these dollars, while US dollars that they do hold in reserves, they're using US dollars while it still has value to buy gold, which of course has equal value, especially with Basel III coming online. So it should be quite interesting where in a way countries are dumping dollars and buying gold. We're seeing that with Russia, and of course we've always seen that with China. So I think things are heating up as far as countries looking to get out of that dollar. Meta Silver, hello, how are you doing? Where are you calling from tonight? Okay, and then but the other interesting thing, I took a look at the top 10 countries as far as gold reserves, and number 10 is India, which is just recently in the news for buying a pretty fair amount of gold, as they always do. And with India, what we're seeing is they now hold some 608 tons, and 6.4% of that is their foreign reserves in gold, which is pretty interesting. Wendell Morse, maybe Romania will accept shares of GLD. That's interesting. Of course they won't do that, but that's a good comment. If they do, I think that's going to be a first where any country is going to accept shares of GLD. I don't expect that, but it's a good thought. And we have Netherlands, who's also holding some 612 tons of gold. That's over half of their foreign reserves they're holding in gold. Why is Romanian government taking the gold back? I think it's an unsaid thing. I mean, every country will just say they want to repatriate their gold, but I think with what happened with Venezuela, I think they want to give the Bank of England a test and see what's happening. I mean, we all know and hear stories of the gold moving from west to east. So if you're in the West, especially a country in the West, you may want to be looking at repatriating your gold and making sure it's there. But that would be my suspicion on why they're doing that. Harvey Birdman, Stacker AG. Oh, what a name. What's up, SBTV? How you doing? Yep, silver prices down. It does mean buy. That's without a doubt, especially with the ratio still being up over 80. It's definitely a good time to be buying that silver. But the thing is, even with that, the ratio being above 80, there are times when you may want to consider flipping that silver into gold. And what I mean is when we think of things like the silver gold ratio, To put it in an easy way, let's say if you bought an ounce of gold, and at that time, let's say the silver to gold ratio was 50 to 1. So let's say you bought 1 ounce of gold, and let's say the ratio expanded to 100 to 1. That would be a time you may want to look at flipping that gold into silver. And you may not have gold anymore, but you'll have 100 ounces of silver. And what will happen then is, let's say that ratio comes back down to 50. You sell that 100 ounces of silver, go back into gold, and you just double your gold holdings without really spending anything. And this is something that if you do over time, you're going to find that it's a way to increase your holdings without actually spending. So it is something to consider. I know a lot of times we buy silver, that's it, we stick with it. We buy gold, that's it, we stick with it. But there are times that you do want to look at the silver gold ratio. Let me see. Yes, Thomas, too. Yes, there is an impenetrable veil of claims on central bank gold. That's for sure. I think we all know that. I mean, it's unfortunate that more people don't know it or don't understand it. It seems, we'll go to work, we'll get our paycheck, we'll do what we need to do, and that's it. And we don't think much more of it, as long as that paper fiat can buy us things. A lot of times people won't consider the need or the value or the worth or the purpose of silver or gold. Full name. Yeah, what's your full name? Fed appears to manipulate the prices. I would say, if not the Fed, someone is. Someone is definitely manipulating prices. And I think when we watched Chris Powell a couple weeks ago, he laid it out pretty clearly how the Fed, how the Treasury, they are involved in, let's just call it the suppression of the gold price. He even talked about the London gold pool, how it was their job to basically suppress gold at $35 an ounce. So there is gold suppression going on, and we see it all the time. JP Morgan or whoever else, they're spoofing markets or whatever else it might be. So we know what's going on. Exactly. Meta Silver, they manipulate gold and silver because they are money. They are. They've always been. Throughout the history, we know throughout the history of mankind, gold and silver, it's been money. If fiat were to go down, I think the first thing people are going to look at is gold and silver as being money again that we can trust. And again, if we go back just a month or two ago, we saw reports of central banks buying more gold than they ever have in the past 50 years. So something's going on. You compile all these things with Basel III. You compile all these things with the list of top 10 countries who are buying gold and other countries who are, in essence, dumping dollars by buying gold. There's definitely some things going on, and it's quietly happening, almost as if it's an underground movement in some ways. It's apparently legal. Full name. Yeah, according to Chris Paul, it looks like it's legal, through his research. And I think there was even a U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney, who said they have the right to do that. So it's sad to say it's sort of a game, but it isn't in some ways. I mean, we all need to look out for ourselves and make sure that we are getting some silver, some gold. We have to be our own central bank, as a lot of people say. Hello from Guadalajara, Noe Velasquez. Hello, it's, let me see, buenos noches. It's nighttime for you, right? Thanks for joining us. If you buy 1,000 ounces of silver and I take a loan, how much can you? Well, Noe is probably referring to our peer-to-peer secured lending program. And what that is people who do store with us. They store with us, and what happens is, if they should ever need a loan for maybe reinvestment or for whatever else, they can take out a low interest loan against the silver or the gold that they store with us. And it's a good way where you don't need to sell your silver or gold. You can take out a loan, and it's a peer-to-peer market where there are people willing to lend you money. So these people, they get pretty competitive where the interest rates really do drop. I mean, sometimes we're looking at slightly under 3%, slightly over 3% for 6 months, 1 year, whatever it might be. And it's not us who is actually lending the money. It's a peer-to-peer program. So all the more if you have silver and gold, you can continue to let it work for you without having to sell it. And it's a program that we do offer. You can find that on our website, where if you were to go to www.silverbullion.com.sg, and there's a tab for peer-to-peer, and you would be able to see market rates, meaning what people are willing to loan you money at against your silver or your gold. So it's a pretty good program. It's been pretty successful. Let me see. File shared. I think the suppression will go on until the system breaks down. Surprised it's gone on for this long. Absolutely. It is amazing how long it's gone on. But I think, I don't want to necessarily say it's coming to the end, because I know you guys hear that just about every day. It's getting closer to the end. It's getting closer to the end. But the thing is, let's just say it may not matter when the end is. And what I mean by that is we have time. So as long as it didn't happen today, we have time today to do what we need to do to prepare our families, to pick up some gold, to pick up some silver. If it didn't happen tomorrow, we have time tomorrow to go and pick up some gold, silver, or whatever it is you need. So, I mean, I do see the frustration with, even with our clients. They've been in gold and silver for quite some time, but I think they've understood how it first was an investment, and now the way things are, it actually doubled up as an insurance. And I think most guys who are in gold and silver, they understand that insurance aspect, and they find some relief in it, more so than if it were just a straight investment. Thomas Tubes, it's been proven many times that PM manipulation is legal and covertly practiced by Gov. And yeah, it's been proved over and over. If not governments, then we've seen banks that are doing it for sure. Bet against debt and become your own central bank by stacking bullion, precious metals updates. Absolutely. That's exactly what you want to be doing. And the thing is, we do it as a type of insurance. And let's say the world is still fine. And the beauty about gold and silver is it's still very liquid, where you can come back out of the gold and silver, and if you want, back into fiat. And chances are you probably didn't lose much over that time. Maybe opportunity cost as far as another investment went, but the thing was you had insurance during that time. So and that does again help you perhaps to sleep better at night. I know it does for me. I'm hoping it does for you too. Let's see, precious metals updates. I love your thanks. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the support. Again, if you guys are new here, we appreciate if you do hit the subscribe button, click the bell to be notified of new updates. And if this goes well without too many technical difficulties, we'd appreciate the thumbs up as well. We do appreciate all of you being here, and we do value your input. Let's see. Full name. I think people understand more about gold if their currency has lost value, like the UK pound. That is true. In something parallel to that, what I tell people is every place is safe until it's not. And one day things may not be safe. And this is where, again, gold and silver can help us all. So just because things are safe today, we can't always assume it's going to be safe. And it's up to every person here to understand when these things happen, we're all either going to be a burden or we're going to be a blessing. And let's just try to be a blessing for our friends and family, considering that we know what's going on. If we try to wake them up, but they still insist to stay asleep, it's on them, but we need to continue to do the best we can in preparation for what we see as something that's going to come down the road. Betsy Martin, with the gold silver ratio, what is it today? Is there any reason to buy gold instead of just silver? I would love to buy some gold, but it's hard to justify with the ratio 85 to 1. Okay, you know what? That's a good point. I think there's at least two things to consider. The ratio being, as you said, 85 to 1 does tell you to buy silver. But at the same time, gold is fairly cheap. So I think you would also have to weigh in the part where gold being cheap, maybe it's just a good time to buy gold. So I think it just depends on your outlook, where, you know, if you really see things really getting into a mess, you do want to have both. So I would say definitely get some silver because of the ratio. It looks like it's going to be a better investment. But also have gold if you want to have peace of mind, if you're not sure if people will value silver the way we think they will. So good to have both. Gold being at a low price right now, probably should pick some up as well. Michael Aotearoa, hey, kia ora, how's things in New Zealand? New sub. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it a lot. Charles McClendon, what is your position on premium silver versus bullion? I think that's a good question. I would tend to stick with probably the bullion premium. If you're talking sovereign coins like silver eagles, which have a higher premium, then I would also go with those. I mean, I think each of those are going to have a place, whether it's a coin or a bar. But I would say first bit of advice is to just accumulate, get as much as you can. And after that, then think about perhaps you want a different type of coin that might have a higher premium. But first thing, just be sure to accumulate. Betsy Martin, thanks. You're welcome. Full name concern is that the Fed will bring the gold price down with the USD. I think if I understand your question correct, I think the Fed, I think the world is at a point right now where it doesn't necessarily matter what the Fed does. I think they understand what's going on in the US. Gold might stay stable, it might stay sideways for a while, but I think over time we're going to see that people just really cannot take the Fed's word at face value anymore. So while it's low, I'd say pick some up if you can. Meta silver, what is premium silver? Yeah, you know, I'm trying to wrap my head around that one as well. I'm the way I'm understanding it is silver that has a higher premium, which again would be, if it's coins, probably the silver eagle has one of the higher premiums. Silver maples, their premiums are pretty low, but you know, the trade-off is, a lot of people say if you get the bars, if things do go bad and you do have to use your bars for trade or barter, you may not be able to get change. So the solution to that is, people say get coins, because if you have coins, it's easily more it's divisible, where in a way you can get change, so to speak, in some ways, because you wouldn't be having to use your whole bar. You know, where a coin, you can just use as many coins as you need. But premium silver, I'm understanding it as just the premium over spot, or the price over spot, where coins typically are going to be higher than bars. Chowder, I love vintage poured, history and limited supply, no longer produced, kind of like Morgan dollars. Yeah, Chowder, we don't typically, I think, come across the items that you're talking about. I think the closest that we come across would be junk silver. Um, for those, I think I really do think everyone should have some junk silver, especially guys in the States. You should be surely holding some junk silver, whether it's nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, whatever it is. You should be holding some. And the reason I say that is because if you are buying silver and gold because you do think things are going to go bad, I think the first thing people are going to recognize, especially in the States, are the historical coins, the vintage coins that we grew up with and that we know to be money and that we know does have or carry the silver in it. So for those reasons, I would say definitely have a mixed bag of junk silver. Have a mixed bag with your coins, your sovereign coins, and also have some bars. Harvey Bird Stacker AG just picked up $5 Indian gold, 2 ounce gold eagles from bullionexchanges.com. Lowest prices I found. Okay, yeah, I think they do a pretty good job. You know, as main thing, as long as you're happy and as long as main thing is trust. You know, if you trust them, then more power to them. That's the biggest thing you can ask for right now in anyone is trust, or any company is trust. Full name. There are a lot of gold and silver dealers that have scanners now and that can check metal content of bars and coins. I'm not so worried about hallmarks anymore. Absolutely. You have to make sure you're testing what you're getting. And because a lot of times what we see nowadays, a lot of the gold, they come in those certicards type of things where it's the bar, it's in a card, and people will never ever open it. You know, they feel that it has the value of gold is also placed with that card being intact. It may be true to some points, but the thing is, counterfeiters know you are not going to open that card, and so it becomes a bit of an issue where you need to open it to make sure it's legit, or you need to find scanners that can penetrate to through the certicard to make sure that it's legit. Again, what we see, or even I'm going to say what we see, is that probably is the bigger, the most counterfeited type of item are the gold bars that come in the certicard. So you need to absolutely check that, because counterfeiters are betting you're never going to open it. Okay, Chowder, I no longer buy 100-ounce bars, harder to sell. I think that varies from dealer to dealer. For us, it's not an issue. 100-ounce bars are still extremely liquid. So, I mean, it just depends on where you're getting them at. Precious metals update. I would say that in a SHTV scenario, silver, especially fractional, would be for smaller purchases and trades. I agree. So to me, silver bars wouldn't be as relevant. It can be, again, it depends on where you're at and who you're trying to make the trade with. I can only speak for us, and for us, 100-ounce silver bars, they're not an issue. Completely liquid, absolutely liquid. Harvey Bird, not trying to advertise for them. No worries. I mean, like I said, I always say we're all in this together, and you need to do what you need to do. Our job is to pass on information to you guys the best we can, the best information that we can. And at times, we'll let you know what we offer to see if that fits, if it fits what you're looking for, if it fits what you need to do. So no worries on that. Isn't this technically the second live stream, Guardian of Light? Technically, yes. The first one, if you guys are here, you absolutely caught us off guard. So we thought we'd schedule this one. So technically, it's the second live stream, but it's the first scheduled live stream. And so we're still trying to work through the ins and outs of these live streams. these young guys make it look so easy, right? They're always on YouTube just doing their live stream, and they got it down. And so for us, we're trying to figure out what they're doing, and because they're doing a pretty darn good job. Uh, it was actually quite. Thanks. We appreciate that you were here, Guardian of Light. John 14:6. After years of 1,200 gold, would it be great to see it break out one day, but with 500 to 1 paper gold and the ability to print to infinity? I doubt it. Yeah, that's remains to be seen. I mean, I think we all want that day where we see that our gold and silver goes up. I think there's a bit of pride in each of us where we might want to say, we told you so, we were right. But then again, we also need to consider how might the world be when all of this happens. I don't think we may be so much, into I told you so, I told you so. I think we're going to be more into thank goodness I was awake, and thank goodness I was able to do something for my family. Is it a good Meta Silver, is it good to buy gold of smaller weights? I think so. I do think so. I mean, I think if it does come to that time where you actually have to use what you have, you want to have things that are as close to the value of what it is you're trying to use it for. The last thing you want is to spend a big piece of gold for something small, and the guy tells you, sorry, I don't have any change. So, I mean, I know it sounds funny, but you just never know. So you want to try and cover as many bases as you can, but without going too far down in any rabbit holes. Let's see. Harvey Birdman Stacker AG, is the website sbtv.com? No, actually the website is www.silverbullion.com.sg, because we're located in Singapore. So that would be the website, the URL for our website. And on there, you'll see that you can buy precious metals, silver, gold, platinum, palladium. You'll see that you can sell them to us, and you'll see what we call our peer-to-peer program, where, again, if you do store with us, because we also have a vault, which is completely owned by us. The vault is called the Safe House. And the interesting thing is, we made it a point where that vault is completely owned by us, meaning we're not some U.S. entity or anything like that. And it's important because storing in Singapore is just the half of it. The other half is who owns the vault. And what I mean by that is, let's say if U.S. send us some sort of document letting us know that you need to repatriate so-and-so's gold or whatever it is. The thing is, we won't do it because we will only listen to the Singapore government. And that's important because if you have vaults anywhere else in the world, and they are a U.S. entity, if they get that, they might have to follow what the U.S. government is telling them. So, it's in a nutshell, what I'm saying is we always hear about how we need to diversify our assets, which is true. But the other part is we need to diversify the location of our assets, meaning you may not want to have everything you own in the U.S. or in your home country. You should be looking at keeping some of it outside in a different country. And again, that's because, things really go bad. They're going to be looking for any type of wealth they can pick up. And you should be looking at keeping it outside of the country as well. A lot of people think it's just a rich man's game to have an offshore account, store offshore. It's really not. It's not, and we have a lot of, let's just say in a positive way, average Joes who understand this and they do store, and they understand the idea of, I'm protecting myself against the Federal Reserve or an economic collapse by buying gold and silver, but I also need to protect myself against the government reaching in. So, and this is their solution, where they will store overseas. Let's see. How long Meta Silver, how long have I been? I've been in Singapore since 2005. I gotta say, I've been here and being out of the U.S. I've really seen how the U.S. has changed, how the world has changed, basically. And I've also seen how Singapore has strengthened its position as being a the so-called Switzerland of Asia. And if it wasn't a place I could trust, or if it wasn't a place that I felt safe in, I wouldn't be here. But I think really things are going to move from west to east, and Singapore being a country where there's virtually no corruption, and it was built to be that way. Very transparent, very safe, and like I say, if I didn't feel safer, I wouldn't be here. And I do feel things are going to move over from west to east. So, for that reason, it's also good to be looking at diversifying some of your assets, probably in a place like Singapore. John 14:6. I find silver dimes in rolls at, hey, lucky, good for you. I think people don't search through the dimes because they're not as exciting as finding a $50. John, probably. You know what? If you're finding dimes in rolls still, I think we should take $100 down to the bank and tell them you want it all in dimes. Take those dimes home and go through it. If you don't find any, just take the $100 back to the bank in coins and get your bill back. No loss, right? Let's see. Sorry, Joe 50. Safe storage in my safe. It's in my hands. I don't own it. Trust no one. Joe, you know what? I'd have to agree with you to a point. I mean, I'll admit, even I do have some stored at home. I'm not going to tell you my address, but I do have some stored at home in a safe. But I think you need to have some in reach, of course, and you need to have some out of reach. I do think there's going to come a time where governments, especially governments in trouble, are going to try and reach in. So at least do consider it. Let's see. Full name. If you store in Le Freeport, whose legislation is that under, as it's not inside Singapore? Oh, that's a good question. I may have to get back to you on that one because I don't want to answer it wrongly, because there's different factors that actually play into that. So it's not a straightforward answer. There's a few variables to it. The Freeport, yes, it is still in Singapore though. But I think I'd have to really get back to you on that one to give you a definite answer, because the Freeport is meant to be a tax-free zone, and that's the key part. But as far as legislation, which government owns what in what part of it and whatnot, there's some variables to that I would need to find out. But the main question is, as I've touched on before, it's also who you are storing with. Just because you're storing in Singapore, that's half of it. The other half is, again, who are you storing with? And again, if it is a company that has U.S. ties, or the storage facility has U.S. ties, or your home country ties, you need to be aware of that. And you need to make sure that you are safeguarding yourself against any type of expropriation, or some people say confiscation. Again, if it's a U.S. entity, you may still be, or that vault anyway, has to more than likely still uphold to U.S. jurisdiction, even though it may be in a different country. So something to consider. Okay, so let's see, who else do we have? Let's see. Thomas, I store all of mine under Patrick's mattress. So you're the reason I have a bad back, huh? My back aches every morning because it's your gold stored under there. How does Wendell Morse? How does the price of gold keep going down when nobody is selling? Well, You and me, we're not selling. Um, of course, bullion dealers, they're selling, but if you look at the you know how it goes, guys. Every month we see the banks basically just dumping paper on the market. Those are the guys who are selling, and it's unfortunate that that paper price and their actions control the physical bullion price. So the thing is, we may not be selling as individuals, but these banks or whoever else is dumping in the paper, who probably don't even have it anyway, they're the guys who are so-called selling. That whether that's legal or not, I you decide that one on your own. Um, Meta Silver, I enjoyed Chris Powell interview. Thanks. We enjoyed having Chris as well. You know, Chrissy's been doing it for quite a long time, and Chris, he has opinions, but the thing I think we all appreciate about Chris is he sticks to the facts. You know, and that's something you don't hear too much of nowadays from people. You know, we all like to give an opinion with social media. We all like to be heard, but with Chris, I give him credit. You know, he sticks to the facts. He lays it out for you, and it's really up for you to decide. Okay. Full name registered. Thank you, full name. We appreciate it. So again, if you're new here, we appreciate if you would subscribe, if you would click the bell so you can be updated on new content. And if this works out where we did an okay job, we'd appreciate the thumbs up as well. We're not professionals at this. We're just regular guys just trying to help people along. I think the more voices, a lot of times the better. We need to hear different opinions. Eileen Green, who are you and how do I find gold? I'm Patrick. I host SBTV. Now I'm just a regular guy. I do work with a bullion company. How do we find gold? From refiners, from mints, more or less like everyone else. We're really just trying to again help people understand the concept of wealth protection, help people understand the concepts of storage really, and insurance when they do store. I'm trying to answer that question. That's a tough one, but again, our main focus is just to help people understand and to give people options on what they can do with gold and silver, or to open their minds up a bit to it, because it's not easy. Like if I were to tell a lot of you guys, you know, do you have house insurance? Yes. Fire insurance? Yes. Auto insurance? Yes. Money insurance? You're going to look at me like, what is money insurance? And that's the thing. If there's one thing we should be insuring besides our health and home, it's our money. And that's where gold and silver comes in. RGJ. Okay. Great show. Thank you. Appreciate that. Can you please start your next live stream in an hour earlier? You can capture most of us East Coast. You know what? We'll take that into consideration, RG. Yeah, it's a good point. We weren't really too exact on if we should do it at 9 or 10, or you know, trying to figure out what's the best time, because you know we also do try to take into consideration Europe. I know for them it's an awful hour. I think no matter what we do, it's going to be an awful hour for them. But with US, yeah, we understand it. We'll definitely take a look at that, especially Sunday night, right? Okay. Hambone, great content under. Thanks, Hambone. Appreciate that. Like the name too. Appreciate it very much. Read that Alabama has a great deal of gold, like a lot of gold. Oh, John, 14.6. I got to get up to speed with that. I haven't heard about it. I thought gold in Alabama was either the Crimson Tide or the Tigers, depending on which side of the state you're on. But you know, that's interesting. I'll take a look at that. Joe 50, nope, I do not agree. If you don't have your silver, gold, water, food in your possession, it's not. I won't argue that. You know, I mean, I do think you definitely have to have these things with you. You know, won't argue that. The only thing is like I said, just to add, where it's also a good idea in some ways not to have everything you own on top of your back, or in your car, or when it is that you need to go, because I think we need to look at it as there's going to be a transition from the current monetary system to the new monetary system. And I think it's in that transition, you want to have your silver, you want to have your gold to get through that transition. You want to have some silver and gold for whatever business opportunities might pop up, for whatever real estate opportunities might pop up. So when that transition is over, you come out better on the other side. But along the same lines, during that transition, I would suspect it's going to be pretty difficult, and you may want to keep some of your assets outside of the U.S. You just don't know how things are going to be, so you may want to think of like taking some of your star players out of the game and sitting them on the bench where they won't get hurt, where they'll be ready for the next game, things like that. You just want to make sure that everything you've done in your life to build up your life, protect your family, to pass things on to them, you want to make sure it's there for them. Okay. Will Ron Paul be coming on the show? Good question. We've been trying to get Ron Paul for the longest time. We'll keep trying. I would love to tell you, yes, he's coming on next week, but I can't tell you that. We're still trying to get him on. John 14:6 was largely overlooked at the time of California rush. Google it, guys. Okay, we'll do. Alabama, huh? Okay. Stacking kid. Joe 50. So trust you or banks, government, trust no one. Okay. Well, it's like I said, I won't argue. You need to do what you feel is best and safest for you. So yeah, that's entirely up to you. Okay. Why is silver and gold different? Well, I think throughout the course of history, silver was always the people's money. But when governments needed to do transactions, they needed more, of course, larger amounts. So gold being more rare than silver, it was deemed to be more valuable and deemed to be worth more. So gold was valued higher than silver, and it made it easier for governments to transact larger amounts in a smaller item. That would be the answer I'd give. I'm sure you folks have other answers as well. Let's see. There is gold everywhere. Apparently 50 million tons in the sea, but it's the exchange. Yeah, a lot of it is the cost to get it out. Unless gold definitely goes higher or surely goes higher, this gold is not going to be mined. It's just going to sit there. It's similar to like electric vehicle metals. We see nickel and cobalt. We're looking at nickel to go up a bit because more nickel is going to be used. But a lot of the analysts tell us unless nickel goes up in value, a lot of mines won't come online, and then eventually what's going to happen is nickel is going to be I'm not going to use the word shortage, but it's going to be a much higher demand where it'll have to go up higher for these companies to start mining nickel to use them for electric car batteries. So it depends on price. If price goes up, they will get the gold. I'm sure they will get the gold. Dirt's neat. How will value of precious metals be determined if there's a financial collapse? I think, it depends on what you have. Meaning, if I have something you want, I'm going to value it against a certain amount of gold and silver you have, if I know other people are taking gold and silver. So I think in the end, the market is going to determine the price of what things should be. But I do also think, it will be gold and silver. It should be there for you. Meta Silver, who can we sell to? you should be able to buy or sell to the people that you bought from. That's usually standard. Um, if companies are just selling to you and not buying from you, for me, it's a bit of a red flag because you want to make sure you can liquidate what you have. So I would say support the companies that are also buying from you, that they're selling to you and they're buying from you. Keep those guys in business because those are the ones that you are probably going to want to seek when things potentially do go bad. Okay, John 14:6. If silver is more difficult to mine, process, and it's used so widely in tech and manufacturing, why is the gold to silver ratio so far apart and getting worse? Great question. It's a question I always ask myself, and it's something that I think Rob Kirby he answered pretty well when he explained how silver mines, primary silver mines, they're not very plentiful. It's the secondary mines that are bringing the silver to the market. And if you're a secondary miner, let's say you're mining for copper, and oh, by the way, here's some silver I found along the way, you're not going to necessarily insist that silver be sold at a higher price because your main business, core business in that mine is copper. So I think that may have something to do with it. Because the demand for silver, it's there, no question to that. It's just as you say, the price, relative to the ratio. Why isn't it moving? The only answer I could give, or the best answer I could give, is because a lot of that silver is from secondary mines. They're making their money from whatever else they're producing. Silver is a byproduct. So whatever they can get from silver, it's a bonus. It's not necessarily the core of the business. Eli, why Alien Green? Why did Alien take the silver and gold? Oh, the Anunnaki. Yeah, we know all about those Anunnaki guys. They came here and they had people working the gold mines, right? Maybe we'll find out in 50 years or so. Who knows? Thomas Tools, call around PMs are very competitive. Absolutely. Call around. You want to find yourself a dealer that you can trust, a reputable dealer. Again, you want to make sure they both buy and sell. You want to make sure that in some cases that they even give you a guarantee that what you have is authentic. And insist that they test it in front of you. Don't walk out the door if it wasn't tested. Make sure it's tested and correctly is what it states to be. Full name. You have to read the Sumerian text about why they used it. Yeah, they used it for their atmosphere or something like that, right? According to Zachariah Stitzen, can't pronounce his last name. Yeah, I was pretty. I was interested in that, a while back. So I feel you guys. I understand that thing, the Anunnaki and Sumerians. Kirby is one of the good guys. Thomas, yeah. Rob Kirby is he had told me what happened with his health, and it was unfortunate, but glad he's here. And what he had to say about I'll just say what he had to say about Rickards. I felt it was pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, what's your guys' opinion on what Rob Kirby said about that? Because, I mean, if James Rickards was the lawyer at that time for long-term capital management, I would think he would have known, the good, the bad, the ugly, as I've said before. I think he would have known. And so, not to say anything bad against the guy, but just to say I think he might have known what happened. So Kirby bringing that out, I think it's unexpected, but it's something that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Thomas, exactly correct about many mines producing. So yeah, unfortunately, silver is seen as the byproduct. But still, the I think a lot of miners, they're saying that the true ratio of silver to gold coming out is about 9-1, 8-1, somewhere around there. So in this topsy-turvy world, if things do straighten up where everybody flies right, I think we're going to see that ratio come back down, the silver-gold ratio come back down. Gold is the enemy of fiat. Yes, it is. Sitchin, full name Sitchin. Yes, Zachariah Sitchin. Okay. Stacking Kid, what's my opinion on the Hunt brothers cornering the silver market? I think they were partly obsessed in some ways. I'm not sure if I would say they tried to corner the market, because I think it was just their obsession that kept getting them to buy and buy and buy and buy. I think the other half of that, the interesting part was, as Professor William Silber had mentioned, that Warren Buffett uncharacteristically sold his silver. So I think for me, the Hunt brothers, whatever they did, if they tried to corner the market, could be. You can't rule that out. But the more interesting part was Warren Buffett, where why did he let his go so early? I mean, the Hunt brothers, they were facing some pretty stiff legal battles, and you have to wonder, if someone actually, or some organization actually spoke to Buffett and told him, hey, this is what happened to the Hunt brothers. Pay attention, because you're holding a lot of silver too. So for me, that's the more interesting part. Okay. It seems that the industrial consumption of silver is going to keep increasing. Won't this force more mines to come online? Yeah, silver, I think consumption of silver is going to keep increasing, and disposal of silver is going to keep increasing. For some reason, industries don't hang on to silver the way they hang on to gold, and a lot of silver is lost. I do think the price is going to have to go up. I don't think it's a wise decision for miners to try and hold silver to get to the market, because, like I said, a lot of that silver does come from secondary mines. So if like a First Majestic, tried to hold silver back to try to force the price up, secondary mines aren't going to care. They're still doing their copper, doing their zinc, doing their nickel, whatever it is. So whatever they get from silver, like I said, it's just a bonus for them. YouTube, Bart Chilton, former CFTC chairman, from Rich Nipper Badge. Okay. He took on JP Morgan's price fixing in 2010. He just recently started reporting on the obvious illegal dumping of paper shorts on COMEX gold and silver. You know what? I'll look into that, Bart. So that's two things: Chilton and gold in Alabama and Georgia. I'll definitely take a look. Appreciate you bringing that forward. Stacking Kid, interview with William Silber. Yeah, William Silber, he's an interesting guy. I think you guys, it's a love and hate thing. Half of him, William Silber, loves silver. The other half, he's an academic, so he sees silver in a different way at times from the way we do. But he still does see silver as an insurance. So he's an interesting guy. His book is pretty interesting as well. Rep, now he's okay. We'll take a look into that one. Bart Chilton. Okay. Stacking Kid, do you think that silver would still be undervalued if the tech boom of 1999 didn't happen? That's a good question. I think that probably did play a role in it, but I think the other half also is, it's the ETFs. When those came online, after the London Gold Pool, as Chris Powell explained, I think it's really the ETFs who are, again, because they control the gold price, naturally it's going to have an effect on silver price. And again, silver being secondary, coming from a lot of secondary mines, it's just, I think it's going to be highly dependent on a lot of times the gold price. Wherever gold goes, silver is going to go more, or silver is going to go less. But there are some guys who think, silver might end up turning around and leading the gold price. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Thank you. Thank you, Rich. We'll look into Mr. Chilton. I made a small fortune purely by accident when the Hunts made their play. You did yourself personally? Okay. Well, you're doing better than I am, that's for sure. Okay, Alien Green, why is silver? Hang on, let me try and figure this one out. Sees gold again. Okay, yeah, sorry, Alien, I'm not. I can't quite comprehend that one. I apologize for that. Where are you from, Alien? So maybe I can try and brush up on that language. Hey, Pablo, yeah, got in late. Yes, because we are just about ready to sign off. I got a big stack of paperwork to get to. Full name, I'm down on AG and up on AU. Yeah, totally understand. Silver, it's been a bit rough for silver lately, but it is something that's a lot of people do think is going to move more quicker, faster than gold, either way, up or down. But okay, I'm going to have to sign off, but I would appreciate, again, if you guys can subscribe, and if you could click the bell to be updated on our new content. And if this first scheduled live stream was okay for you guys, I would appreciate the thumbs up. You guys have been great. I wish I could get to each and every one of the questions. As time goes on, we'll get better, we'll get quicker, we'll get faster, and we'll all be able to share more knowledge amongst each other and really be able to do the things we need to do. But in the end, as I say, we're always going to be we're either going to be a blessing or a burden. So let's all do what we need to do. We're all in the boat together. And let's just take care of each other and take care of the people around us. That's the best we can do for now. Try to wake up people. If they stay asleep, well, we have to still understand that when they do wake up, we might have to be there for them as well one day. So just do your best. Find it in the goodness of your heart. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep stacking. You're doing the right things. Okay, so that's more questions. I wish I could get to them, guys, but we're gonna have to end it now. We appreciate all the comments. I'll go back through them after this airs and see the questions that you guys had. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So again, I appreciate you guys being here. You guys take care of each other, and we're gonna have to get going. It's 11 in the morning here in Singapore, which means I have to go and do some work now before the boss walks in the door. So you guys take care. Just take care of each other, and we'll see you again. Okay? And so we'll sign off now. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.